talk about the first time I ever tried any sort of hosting without getting paid for it, which was like right after college. I just started a YouTube channel and started doing these like really crappy little videos just like out of my bedroom. Like, here's a game that just got released. Yeah, and so it was like really, really bad. And like sometimes I watch them just to cringe really hard.
Oh, God. I never watch any of my content. It's awful.
I do it.
Even to this day.
And then, yeah, I kind of worked my way up from there. And I would say my first like paid hosting gig was amazing. I would say Curse is kind of what like put me on the board there. And I worked for them for about 1.5 years. And it was just a really cool experience because it was the first time I was like, wow, I'm getting paid to talk about video games. And like we just did all kinds of weird, crazy videos. Like we went ziplining and like I got to fly a plane and stuff like that, like just for videos. And it was the kind of best configuration is to have one really analytical caster and one really like kind of color commentary caster. And sure, like they both need to be entertaining people, but it's nice to have that dynamic of like instead of having two people who are really like, oh yeah, when they did this specific move and it did this much DPS, et cetera, and then have the second person just kind of echo the same thing back. Like that's not going to work. You need, you know, kind of like the straight man and the funny man sort of thing.
It's all about being comfortable and establishing your community because I always hate esports players for this, but when they start up a stream, they have thousands of viewers right off the bat. Well, sometimes, but they start off their stream, they have thousands of viewers, and I'm like, I want thousands of viewers, but in reality, they have the luck of the draw of just being good at the game. So people want to learn how to be good at the game. So what do I have to offer as someone that's not necessarily good at the game? It's all about that entertainment factor, or many different factors. Like, for example, I stream at night, like way late at night, which is why I'm a little out of it right now, because I'm normally finishing about an hour ago. So I'm tired.
So you do early morning streams?
Yeah, late night, early morning. It's awful. But everyone comes to my channel and they say, hi, how's it going? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, now I'm going to lurk. I'm just going to, have you in the background as I go to sleep. So I'm kind of like that chilled, relaxed environment that they like to fall asleep to. And I used to take that as an insult. I used to think that people were like, oh, they come to my stream to go to bed.
But then, hey, like ASMR blew up.
I was going to say.
But ASMR blew up. A lot of people are just looking for that relaxed environment, and that's... Anyways, what I'm trying to get at is you're trying to establish a community, because if you're not good at a game, you have to kind of establish something for yourself. And for me, that's the chilled, relaxed vibe, the welcoming community, and just being that person that it's like, hey, I could share a beer with this guy. And in fact, I met a bunch of my viewers. They're all really cool, by the way. They're just like, hey, can we buy you a drink? And I'm like, yes.
Well, and I always kind of looked at it as there are, in my opinion, like 3 main reasons why someone would watch a stream, and that'd be if the streamer is really, really good at that game, like if they're a professional esports player, or if they are relevant in the scene, like if they are a professional esports player, or if they're really entertaining. So, and it's like ideally you'll have 2 out of those 3, but you need at least 1.
Yeah, you need at least 1, and then you can just work with it, right?
Yeah.
So
when I found out that when Blizzard was going through all of these submissions for this, so you think you can cast, they narrowed it down to the top 5 groups, and I was 2 of the top 5s, but it was with different people, because I had submitted, or people had submitted with me about 7 times, and so it was a matter of like, who did they like to pair with me, and I got a really great partner out of it, which was Nick, who's probably one of the people that was, well, he was like my favorite of the group, because I thought we gelled really well, but it turns out that we're both more of that kind of color caster than the actual analyst, and so when he couldn't make something for like the TESPA finals, I got paired with an analyst who didn't want anything to do with actual hosting, but could just tell you everything about the game. So it really became, in that sense, about me leading him into some things and kind of throwing him things that like he was really knowledgeable about it, and me, I'm knowledgeable about it, but not to the point where I play 400 hours a month, if that is even possible, in Hearthstone. But it's cool because you mentioned like that pairing is really essential. And I think finding a pair, if you're going down the casting, like the analyst route, is super helpful.
I streamed in it. Yeah, I was playing Overwatch one day, and the entire match was just my forehead, and just things like that happen all the time. And it's really rolling with the punches, because that's hilarious, right? It's his forehead, and it's gigantic. Thanks, chat. Foreheads in chat.
What's some advice you would give them, Jess? If you're starting out in your role, how would you go about it?
Just do it as much as you can, because like the more you do something, the better you'll get at it, and don't wait for someone to pay you for it. Just do it. Like, you know, I first started my really crappy little YouTube channel just because I was like, well, I want to get experience doing this. I didn't major in like broadcast journalism or anything like that, which I now looking back wish I had. So I was like, I've got to get experience somehow. I've got to like learn how to do the job if I want to actually do it and get paid for it. So I just did it a bunch. It was really crappy for a very long time, and then it got better.
I mean, I got into it largely through podcasting, talking to friends, and just understanding that you are entertaining, right? And so finding ways to get content out there, whether or not it be making YouTube videos you're embarrassed about in your bedroom, or just if it is streaming
like something
YouTube.
different when you say it that way.
I probably should preface that about video games. There we go. Anyways, but yeah, I think it's a matter about just getting out there and start making the content, going back and reviewing it, and being like, how can I do it better? If it's from casting, from a Hearthstone casting standpoint, this is just me personally, but there are actually probably in other games even more opportunities, I think, to cast than there are in Hearthstone. There's not a lot of third-party tournaments and stuff, but really just jumping out there and asking if you can cast or host, if you're confident in it. I just jumped in probably into too much stuff for the After Hour Gaming's League, which is done by like Day 9 and Twitch are doing it. And it's just a bunch of different corporations. I was like, hey, I hopped in Discord. I was like, do you all need casters for Hearthstone? They're like, yes, we totally don't have anybody. And so now I'm that person. And I was like, sweet, that's just another thing I can do for fun. And it's a paying gig. How I did that, I don't know, but I guess I just asked in Discord. So it's surprising how often you can just get into stuff by just asking. If other people are running a tournament, they're like, hey, can I jump in? Recently, I helped run a tournament, or I'm helping with a tournament called the Phoenix Cup for Hearthstone. And originally, it was just the person who was actually one of the people who's running it was one of the people I tried out during that contest with. And he was like, hey, would you cast? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then it turns out he wanted me to cast for like 8 hours a day every Saturday. And I'm like, no, it's not going to happen for free. So, and not that I was asking him for money, but I was like, let's make this a cool opportunity to get other people in. So I literally threw it out there. I was like, hey, who would like to learn how to cast or do casting, just pair up with other random people? And I had like just tons of people swarming me. So it went from being me and this other guy who I didn't even know was casting until like a couple of weeks beforehand, to like a group of about a dozen of us casting. And it's just cool to see these people. Like, I've always wanted to cast with this person. They're pairing up. So it's neat to have just those opportunities. And all they did was hit me up on Twitter like, hey, I'd like to try my hand. I'm like, let's go for it. So the question was, how do you build an audience within podcasting in the games community to begin with? Having done it, one of the things I found was try and ask other people who are doing podcasts to be on your show. It's a good way of kind of getting guests out there to kind of get you out there quite a bit. It can work good and bad in some ways, but I think it's largely around just networking within that community, trying to pop in if there are any kinds of forums or whatever. Whenever I go to start a podcast, I always look at the community and what's going on and how am I providing something different. Scott, I love Scott. I love Scott Johnson, the instance. But what I found is when everybody was doing World of Warcraft podcast, everybody wanted to mimic the instance. So every podcast that was coming out was like the instance light. It was just never as good. I'm like, why are you trying to be that? And so just go drink and be funnier. And so I think it's understanding where that community lies, understanding how you're different, and interacting with them and showing like, hey, we're different. We're bringing something new.
Where you're putting the podcast is also really important. Of course, Twitch, YouTube. If you're doing it live, do it live. Even if you're doing it offline, like do a live stream version of it. Just getting yourself out there is really important. It's the same thing with streaming, networking. Just trying to put it in as many faces as you possibly can. Start going into forums. I'm not going to suggest which forums, but you can go into forums and just get it out there, because all it takes is one eye, and then you could just explode one day, or you can just have that natural growth.
So the question is, how much self-promotion do you do, and what kind of outlets? I'll throw that over to Jess, because she burns boys on the internet.
I burn everyone on the internet.
Okay.
Twitter? I mean, it helps. Like, for me, what really helps is the fact that, like, I get all this exposure from doing the Call of Duty hosting stuff. A lot of those people come over and follow me on Twitter, and then I tweet it out, and all these, like, new people that have recently followed me will see if I'm, like, streaming or whatever. But I don't stream anymore. But in theory, yeah, Twitter for me.
Sure.
You've grown an audience.
Yeah. surprisingly, like Discord and Discord communities, they're actually gigantic, and it's almost disturbing how much of a following you can have there. Just finding where their influence is. I feel like Discord's slowly becoming the new Reddit in that sense, except a little bit more private. You can't just like jump in there without being known. But Discord, I've built communities off of that, as well as Reddit. Honestly, there's a lot of keen people on Reddit that are ready to just smash you and destroy you, but there's the odd person that is wanting to be constructive and a part of your community.
So yeah, I think one of the pieces of advice or responses to a very similar question that happened many, many years ago, I think it was Alex Albrecht was up on stage, and somebody asked him, like, I've been doing a podcast, I'm only getting 150 to 300 people at most, and I've been doing it for about a year. Like, what do I need? How do I get bigger? Or like, what am I doing wrong? Actually, his question was, what am I doing wrong? And Alex's response was perfect. He goes, imagine 300 people sitting in front of you watching what you're doing, or like listening to what you're doing. A room of 300 people, it's like, that's freaking amazing. He's like, I do improv. He goes, if 300 people showed up at my improv, I would be freaked out, like, because it's so many people. So don't ever compare yourself to what another person's doing. And I think that's very, very important. One of the panels I do at another convention called App Junkies, I remember the very first time I did it, we had 3 people in the audience. 3 people showed up, and this is a convention of 70,000. And I was like, wow, maybe I'm just doing something wrong. We tweaked things a little bit, and we kept doing it year after year, and now we're up to like 1,000 people show up. And I don't even know why they showed up, or they're showing up, or why they're allowing me to waste my time. But just be really gracious of that people are really weighing in. So